What do you wish for? A nice life? Nice things? Or do you wish for something more? A sense of purpose? Do you wish to discover a cure? To write code that cracks an unsolvable question? To further our exploration into space? Or to invent something that changes everything right here on Earth? Well, if that's your wish, make yourself ready. Because when you look back, you'll see that you didn't just make wishes, you realized them.
The path to happiness is not the easy one, but taking drugs will not make it easier. Many people got lost and end up losing their life to drugs. If you or anyone that you know is within that path, don't be afraid to seek for help. Visit www.adk.gov.my for information related to drug abuse. So, know your path. This message is brought to you by the National Anti-Drugs Agency.
Say with me, imagine what you'd see if every child had a book to read. 'Cause every kid across the nation deserves a book to read, and we can make it happen right now. No, I don't know what you've been told, but kids with books learn so much more. So the mission is for us to get a book to each and every child. So let's join hands, book people unite, unearth hidden passion. To motivate some magic, to change the writing on the wall, writing on the wall. One can make a difference. One book can inspire a child. One book can be the first thing helps to change a life.
Read to a child today and spark a lifetime of ambition.
Where I wanted to quit, in the back of my mind, I told myself I have to quit. And just that day when I reached for that cigarette, I'll never forget it, with my son looking at me. And it was like a bolt of lightning hit me, where I finally realized the big picture of what year after year and cigarette after cigarette had done. And I said, that's it. I'm done. I quit. Took him a whole pack, brand new pack. Took him, threw him out the window, and I don't litter. But that's it. I'm done. I quit. I know it's going to kill me. It's going to be cancer. But I don't have to make it sooner than it needs to be. He was shocked, and he says, I really hope you mean that, Mom.
Let's get back to your girl Ambezi, Thin Bad, and the Chief.
Hello, folks. We are back from the break, and if you're just joining us, we're trying to talk about some good, nice stuff having to do with policing, but something keeps going, something keeps happening. So here lately, we were talking about what had happened lately here in Baltimore with the police officer there who was just arrested for arresting a man for no apparent reason other than he got ticked off with the guy and wanted him to mind his business. A 24-year veteran for doing so. And before the break, and before we go on to the next to the next situation. We have a caller that called. Steve had called in, and we want to make sure we get Steve on. Steve, you're with us on Straight No Chaser. Thanks for calling in.
Steve just dropped. I'm not sure what happened to him, so we'll try to get him back though. When he
we'll
calls
try
back
to get
in, we'll
Steve
get him
back. But if you all have been following what we're talking about, certainly I'm sure folks in Baltimore, in the Baltimore metropolitan area, who listen to us are aware. I'm sure that's probably all over the news. But we just we're trying to get this thing together. Chief, I know you worked for years. You worked your career trying to do the right thing, and interact with the community in the right way as it comes to policing and proper policing. But you have these bad apples where they seem to kind of get there. And the people that I've seen, and I'm sure this is an overgeneralization, but a lot of times when I saw the people who I knew who grew up, because in our neighborhood, there were a lot of folks, hell, there were 3 people in your block, who all went into police force, one way or another. But and all 3 doing it the right way. And all 3 of you all, conscious, brothers who are always, wanting to do the right thing. But a lot of folks that I see or folks who got kind of chumped in high school or had a chip on their shoulder or wanted to be have some authority and get the opportunity now to kind of act out this thing. Kind of like what this guy did. I'm the police officer. I've got, the upper hand no matter what. I'm always right no matter what. I got a badge, I got a gun and a camera, which is what did him in. But it's just as I said, those bad apples offset what it is that you and the other brothers who grew up in the neighborhood were trying to do. And what you all did, you all saw it done. When we grew up in a time where community policing was something. We knew about officer friendly. We knew about there were PAL centers at one point, and they met with some positive and negative. But still, it was a step in the right direction where there was an interaction within the community where police actually, officers kind of lived in the community. You're liable to see them somewhere else in the community. It wasn't like they lived somewhere far out and just came in to gaffle folks and go back somewhere else.
Exactly.
But it makes it. I really do think it makes a difference. And I'm not trying to squash anybody's dream, of doing, buying the home they want, where they want, living where they want. But I just think sometimes if you are in jurisdiction and policing in a jurisdiction, and I just happen to think you ought to live there, because I think you behave differently if you see people. It's hard to come in and beat up on somebody or that you might see somewhere else, or to mistreat someone. I shouldn't say always beat up, but to mistreat people, or to build up a kind of some kind of disdain for people. If you live amongst people, and if you are part of the same community, if your kids go to the same schools, if all this kind of stuff, I just think it makes a difference. But maybe I'm dreaming, but it's not just going on in Baltimore, so I don't want to pick on Baltimore. But we've got something going on clear across the country on the left coast. In Phoenix, where it was, I guess it was late last month,
right.
In late May, probably
Right.
around the Memorial Day holiday or something,
Right.
or somewhere near there, just after that, where a young man and his fiance and their 2 children, they went to a store, Family Dollar store. Not that it's, has anything to do with the Family Dollar, but just letting you know this is the store that they were in. They were there with their preschooler, and who evidently, from what the report is saying, that the child took a small doll without the knowledge of the parents, and and then the police officer kind of came in, and here we are again. An over, there may have, as it looks, there was a theft, even if it was a little kid that took something out of the store, and if the parents knew or didn't know, that's kind of immaterial on the one hand, because if you look at the tape, when you see the footage of how those officers responded, it was overkill. It was way over the top, for a doll. Whether they knew about what was going on, or whether they were blaming it on the kid, or whether the kid took it without their knowing, it's just no way to treat people in that kind of situation. The cop, passerby, recorded the whole encounter, and that's how we ended up seeing it. It shows the officer handcuffing one, and the other one was shouting at the woman with the two children. Screaming, I'm going to put a cap in your ass. Literally, that's what he was saying. And the other one said, I'm going to shoot you in your effing face, in front of preschoolers. Now, you want to contrast that to the image I just painted in terms of how I grew up with, some different type of policing to kind of balance. Yeah, we still had some of the bad stuff, but there was also officer friendly. There was also an officer that I could go to, or someone that I could talk to and felt comfortable with, that I wasn't scared to death of. Imagine how these kids are going to grow up. Their first encounter with the police is, I'm going to bust a cap in you, that they're talking to their mother, and line up their father. Sure. I mean, imagine how that pathology is just going to continue. It's just it's crazy. It's crazy.
It is.
Can you think of any situation, Chief, that would have warranted anything that those two people could have done with a child on a hip, two children, and just, I can't think of anything that would have warranted that kind of response from an officer. Sure. The way they were going with guns drawn.
Well, let's just to, excuse me, just so that we have the appropriate frame of mind, why don't we listen to a quick snippet from the video?
Okay, I forgot you had that, yeah.
Get out the car! Put your hands up! When I tell you to do something, you do it! I am.
I thought I was going to get shot in front of my kids. Like, he actually told me, and with profanity.
And, of course, at the end of that was the mother of the child, who was very concerned that she was going to be shot by the
Aisha Harper. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. I mean, I can't understand. I mean, I'm not usually at a loss for words, but I guess I am at this particular point, but because there's so much so close together. This is crazy.
Well, there's a little bit of background to this one also, Thin Bad. According to, and I listened to Chief Jerry Williams' press conference, and according to what they have at this moment, they're telling the public that the officers, I don't know whether it was those two officers or not, but the officers were alerted that there were some adults stealing inside of the dollar store. They were told this by management. They, of course, relayed that to the police officers, and at that point, the group fled in a vehicle. They stopped at some point down the road, and they let out a woman who later on, it turns out, had warrants, and she was arrested. Then they continued to the parking lot where you saw the confrontation, and they are alleging in the report that they were uncooperative getting out of the car, and so forth and so on. So what the information